What's up guys, my name is Fablo and today I'm gonna show you how LIZOT and I made our latest track, My Vibe, together. And if you didn't listen to the track already, this is how it sounds. Unfortunately, Max and Patrick from LIZOT won't be able to be here, so I'm doing this video on my own and I'm gonna show you the project file we worked in and how the track was made. Just one note, as most of you may know, I now produce in Ableton and this track was done in FL Studio. This is because the track is almost 1 year old actually. Shortly after we made My Vibe, I've switched to Ableton entirely because of workflow reasons. And now let's stop talking and let's go straight into the project. So My Vibe has a pretty unusual start because the track doesn't start with a break, but it rather starts with the first build-up, which goes like this. So basically the main element of this break is the vocal sample. The vocal is from Splice and it's slightly processed. Here we use a black box for distortion, a really amazing distortion plugin or saturation plugin. You should get this one. Then some bit of EQing, a soothe, so it just tames the resonances a bit. Then some ping pong delay, glue compressor to smash the vocal, and fresh air for some highs. And that's it. Oh no, actually there is a kickstart left for the sidechaining. And a soothe to clean up the lower end, or like the low mids, so the vocal sounds clean. Alright, then we have the drums. Then we have kind of a bass sound. It's like a high pass Reese, which is opening up. Then we have this build up sound. Some atmospheres. This is a riser. Then this beautiful ambient guitar. And that one wasn't enough, so I've added a second one, and I think they both work really great together. Then another element for background ambience, which is really quiet. I think you can't even hear it properly. Then we have the main lead of the track, which is actually played 1 octave higher to create some tension in comparison to the drop later. And it's also filtering, and the filter is opening up during the build-up. And the top bass as well, which is opening up as well, and I think it's filtered too. Then we have the drums. Those are opening up as well. I've used a lot of layers here for the drums. It's actually 4 claps. I'm gonna show them to you later in the drop, how I process them and how I've layered them. Alright, then we have this top kick, just to keep up the rhythm. And kind of a kick impact. Alright, so this is actually not much in the build-up. This track is actually pretty empty. It doesn't have that many layers. So let's go to the drop. And the drop starts with this snare roll leading into the drop. I made some things here to make it more interesting during the build-up. At first I've automated the decay of the snare, so it kind of gets longer. Then I've added a phaser on top to make it more interesting. And I made this one with Serum FX. I've actually used the phaser and the flanger together. I think those are the standard settings of Serum FX. And just use the effects how they came. Alright, let's start with the first drop. I'm gonna play it to you and then I'm gonna show you every layer. Most of the layers you've already heard in the build-up, but now I'm gonna show you all of them more in detail. But now let's listen to the drop. Let's start with the most important element of the whole track, which gives it the main characteristic. It's a lead sound. I'm gonna show you how I made this one. I really like to use those stutters in the lead because I think they bring a lot of energy. So this is the lead sound without any processing, only the serum patch, which I made by myself. I used an Iconhas kick table for the grittiness, and for some stereo width I've used a rounded saw, because this wavetable fits perfectly for the background sounds and is really only for the background to give it some width. Then a filter and yeah, some basic distortion, multiband compression and wider, and a flanger for some tension later, because now it's turned off and I've used this one for automation purposes. I've actually used the same lead sound in a different remix I made. It's on SoundCloud. It's the Bad Girls lead together with Ragunde. I always like to reuse my sounds because it gives all of the tracks some character, because the listener remembers the sounds from other tracks of you, and then you have kind of a signature sound. Alright, let's go further with the processing. First I've used a Saturn II with the Faster Master preset, then some slight OTT, some EQing with a really hard boost in the mids, then the good old Camel Crusher, which beefs up the sound by a lot, and I think this one gives it a lot of the character because it really pushes that grittiness. Then some really strange EQing and taking away some areas. Then we have another EQ which boosts the highs and takes off 2 of the main resonances and a high roll-off, so the sound sounds more warm. Then we have a kickstart, then we have another kickstart, and this one does some pumping. Without it, it sounds like this. I think you can hear the difference. Then some filtering, this mainly for the build-ups, and also the Endless Smile for the build-ups. So this is the processing of the lead sound. I've routed this one into a bus where I have some H delay. Then I used a compressor to sidechain this one to the main lead. Just to keep the main lead clean. Then this is what I really like to do with my delays. I really like to add some kind of reverb, but really slow one for some width, and so the delay doesn't feel that empty. And I've added a kickstart, so the delay doesn't clash with the kick. And there's also a pancake, but this is for automation purposes only. Alright, then we keep going with the bass. At the beginning I've showed you the top bass, and now we actually have the sub bass, which is kind of doing the same as the top bass, but way slower. Top bass is like this. And the sub bass is like the slower counterpart. Here we have those glides, which fit perfectly into the gap of the lead sound. It's like doo-doo, boo-doo-boo. So, a really great addition. The top bass is actually made in Spire. It's a pretty basic saw sound with an aceto filter, which opens up during the drop to create some tension. And the bass is called Side Piece Sub because I've tried to remake the sub of On My Mind by Diplo and Side Piece because I really like the sound. It's so fat. I think those who know the track will know what I mean. Here I've used a basic sine and I gave it some harmonics so it sounds warmer. In comparison, this is what the sub would sound like with a basic sine. So almost no harmonics, and it doesn't punch through on the small speakers. And this is with the custom sine wave. So this just sounds fatter. I think there's no processing on it yet. I've tried to use a chorus here, but yeah, stereo information on a sub isn't that great. And for the processing, there's just glue. Then there's the Saturn II, a kickstart, which has a pretty hard sidechain because the kick is really long, and then a low pass, and I think I have high passed the side information because I first tried it with the chorus, so I don't have any stereo information in the low end, but yeah, didn't use the chorus. And then this Soothe as a sidechain. I really use this one a lot to sidechain my bass to the kick. A lot of people use the track shaper, but I didn't want to buy that one. And I've used Soothe for that because it basically does the same and it's a bit more versatile. Then let's go to the kick. This one is kind of a techno kick. And to give it more impact, on the first hit of the drop, I've took the kick and I've reversed it into itself. So there's like this whoop. Yeah, this sounds way better. So write it down and use it for your own tracks. I did some basic processing with a Pultec. I think the only thing I actually did is like boosting the highs, and I boosted them by a lot. This is without the Pultec, and this is with the Pultec. It actually sounds more beefy, I would say. Then here we have the shaper box just to shorten the kick a bit so it fits to the sidechain. After the first 4 bars, the hi-hats come back. So the first hi-hat isn't actually a hi-hat, it's more like a shaker. Then we have a hi-hat with some longer attack time, so it's smoother. This one is panned to the right side entirely. Then we have like a 909 hi-hat, with a really short one, panned to the left. Then we have another 909, a longer one, also panned to the left, and another shaker, and this one is in the middle, but it has a lot of stereo information, and all together they sound really full. Then further in the drop we have the snare roll again, and also a crash build-up I used with the snares together. And they phase out a bit because of the delay I've used on there, but I think this one gives some texture and some color to the crashes. I think it sounds really good. Then to the second part of the drop. Here we have some more drums. I actually used 2 stems of my Bad Girls remix with Ragunde. They are panning from right to left, as you can hear, and those offbeat percussion snare. Then I've used this drum loop. Then we have this vocal atmosphere. You can't really hear it. I think this one is needed to fill up the background. Then we have some 16th hi-hats. And this supportive hi-hat. I've actually used the same technique here, which I've used with the snares from the build. I've also automated the decay time, so there's some more swing. And this one fits really well to the rhythm of the hi-hats. And here I've added a really nice brass sound to give it some more ambience and to make the drop sound deeper. But it's also really quiet. Alright, there's just one more thing I've missed to show you, and it's the vocal from the build-up. But here I've chopped it up to give it some more energy and some more rhythm. And for the third part of the drop, I've removed the vocal. I've basically kept everything, and I've chopped up this vocal sample from Splice. Alright, so this is the first drop, and now we head into the break of the track. I really like this break. It gives me some old school EDM vibes, and I think those vibes are actually missing in a lot of tracks today, so I've tried to implement them here. And one of the main elements in the break is this ARP, which is slowly opening up. Then we have this big pad. We keep the vocal, but this time only saying that's my vibe. Then we have those vocal chops again, but they're filtered and playing only in the background. Then again, some ambient sounds. Those nice guitars from the beginning are back as well. And also the brass sound. In the background there's the kick from the build-up playing, just to keep up the rhythm, so you can still dance to it. And this little ambient background sound. As the break progresses, the drums are back, and I've also added the respace. Added the respace from the beginning, the higher one. And a lower one, which has actually some real bass. And together they sound like this. And without the top layer, it's just this one. And it's just a simple Serum Reese preset. We basically have all of the elements as we had before. The drums are coming back again, filtered. And then we go back into the build-up. Alright, this was the second build-up, and now let's go into the last drop. This one starts different than the first one. We actually went pretty minimalistic with the first part of the drop, and there we only have the kick and the bass. The lead is playing a bit different than the first one, I can show you. So we have the bass, but it's only playing on one note. Kick is back again, and this is the lead. And as you might hear, the flanger I've showed you, which is in the serum patch. So I've automated the mix knob here to bring in some color and some variation. Because the note is always the same, and so you have to do something else to keep it interesting. Alright, so we only have the kick, the bass and the lead in this first part. Then there's this one bar where there's absolutely nothing besides this okay. Then the drums are coming back. The bass goes up and the kick is gone. And now the really high energy part of the second drop is coming in. One thing I want to show you is this build-up riser. This gives really a lot of energy, and it's actually that much energy that I kept this one, and this one is playing quietly in the rest of the second drop. Then for the rest of the drop we have the full drumming like we had in the first drop, and the vocal is playing as well. And in the last part, the third part of the second drop, it's again vocal chops, still with the riser playing in the background. Alright, so this is basically the whole track. There is not much more going on, and sometimes you don't need that much elements, only the most important ones. Not much unnecessary stuff in the background. Yeah, which I think keeps this track super powerful and super clean. Yeah, if you want to listen to this track, you can do this on Spotify or like every other platform. For all of those who are around Cologne next week, I have a show at Bootshaus together with Shuuk and Showtek. So if you want to come around, I'm gonna post the ticket link down there. I hope if this video will be released, there will be some tickets left, so you can get one. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and to follow me on Instagram so you won't miss anything. If you like this video, leave a comment down below, leave a like, and if you have some ideas for future videos, also leave them down there. My name is FABLO, see you soon, bye bye.